People, let me explain something to you. All sealers are not created equally. So when you're asking me about what the best sealers to use outside are, that's kind of a loaded question. A couple years ago, my father and we redid this deck. And we redid the deck using all the things that were absolutely recommended. And after just a couple of years, this sucker needs to be redone. And if you're an avid DIYer or crafter, you guys know how much of a pain it is when you purchase something and expect it to do exactly what it says on the label. People, think of a sealer like you think of a raincoat. One type of raincoat can protect you against a heavy storm. And then another type of raincoat, well, it can only handle a little bit of sprinkle. And for one particular question I'm often asked about, can you decoupage things and then put them outside? You need to also remember that decoupage is built different than a piece of pottery that you're popping out that joint, or a piece of glass that you're putting out that joint, or a cement piece or a wood piece that you're putting out that joint. Decoupage goes around something that's also primarily made out of paper, depending on the type of paper, because there's different pounds, and we're not going to get into all that. Decoupage on its own is susceptible to damage without being outside dealing with the elements. So when you're looking for a sealer, you also have to make sure that as you're applying whatever it is, you're making sure that all your edges are completely covered, because any missteps in that sealer is going to allow for damage to seep in through the paper and then start to damage the paper even under the sealer. Now, as you've seen, even with the deck, it didn't matter that we used a good name brand and we used one that was highly rated and recommended. The UVs, the weather, the moisture, the dirt, it slowly but surely did what it does, and it wore out the stain that we applied onto the deck over time. And in case anyone wants to see me and my dad actually stain that deck, I'll pop the video down below. I think I have it somewhere here on YouTube. If I do, I'll put it down there. Getting to the point, I always aim to use non-toxic, and the information I'm about to tell you is not as non-toxic as I would like it to be. However, you're asking about outdoor sealers, and you're asking about what is going to protect your decoupage pieces outdoors in the elements. I say all that to say this. No matter what sealer you're going to pick, because at the end of the day, it's completely up to you what you're purchasing. You're going to want to make sure that the can, that the spray, that the bottle, whatever it is, it has a UV protection on there. Okay, number one. We're going to want to make sure that that is absolutely on your piece. Then you're going to want to make sure that there is a water resistance on there somewhere. Okay, this should be on the label somewhere, letting you know that it is going to protect against your water resistance. And then last, I check reviews, people. I go on there to see what other people are seeing. If there's some pictures, if there's more good than there is a negative, I'll happily give it a go and I'll try it out for y'all. But I am already partial to a brand. And let's be honest, I know that's what y'all are here for, to see what I use. I've used both of these products on outdoor projects. My favorite and preferred is the Minwax. And I've shared this over the years. I love the polyurethane. I use the mats. However, they're toxic, people. You need to make sure that you're outdoors or in a well-ventilated area, wearing your PPE, protecting yourself, whether you're breathing it in, your eyes, whatever. It is not my preferred method overall to use while crafting, but if you're looking for something outdoor that is going to last, these are the two products that I'm going to recommend for that. Not necessarily because they're the healthiest options, but because they're going to do the job that you want them to do for the projects that you're trying to create to leave outside in the elements. A non-toxic option that I have not tried yet, but I have heard good things about, and I believe that it will probably give me the result that I'm interested in, and we can try that here on the channel if you guys are interested. Let me know in the comments, is the Mod Podge Outdoor. And I do say that because I love the dishwasher safe Mod Podge, and I have washed pieces and left pieces with the towel to sit and all the things, and have not had any issues with them. I don't know who I'm kidding here, but I will probably go right to Amazon as soon as I publish this video and purchase it. And a little disclaimer, I just want to make sure that I throw this out here and reiterate, these are what have worked for me. I'm not recommending them out into the world and saying they're the end all be all best products and this is what you should always be using and this is what works. And if you know me, you know one thing. Do you boo boo, literally. Okay, I tell you what works for me and then you go and do what you think works best for you. Selling products online is not for the weak, y'all. And I am asked about this, whether I'm on Whatnot, whether I'm on Facebook, whether I'm here on YouTube, in these comments often, not just how do I sell, where do I sell, what's the best way to start? And that's another loaded question. Not everything I make sells. And before I ever started YouTube, I was upcycling pieces and reselling them on Facebook Marketplace. And I know y'all are sitting at home and you're probably saying to yourself, well, Brandy, I watched this channel and they're like, we can make this and we can resell this. It really honestly depends on your demographic if you don't have an audience. What do I mean by that? Your demographic is going to depend on what people in your area or what people that are engaging with you are actually interested in purchasing. That can be anything from a particular item to the style that they enjoy. For the most part, it's been my experience, many people enjoy purchasing farmhouse. While I might have did an amazing job decoupaging this pretty wooden bread box, when I popped it up on Facebook Marketplace, it didn't sell. And I realistically feel like that's just because it's got a steampunk theme. And primarily most of the things that I sell in my area that are close for larger pieces like this, it's farmhouse. Then you need to ask yourself if what you're creating you feel like is something that other people are going to find unique and want to purchase handmade. And if you're looking for me to figure out what that is for you, I can't. And I say that because what I've learned that I'm able to sell is completely different than what you're going to be able to sell. And I've done that through years of trial and error. And I'll tell you right now, the two things that I sell easiest are things that are unique and something you don't find every day. And that's going to be my candle decoupage. And I sell these on Whatnot. And I sold these on Facebook Marketplace. And I've sold these on my website once upon a time. And here's my, I do all kinds of them. And I have been selling these on and off for years. And then the next thing is my book decor. My book pieces usually sell the second I either pop them up on Whatnot or put them on my website. These are few pieces that I actually will put on my website. I don't always have things for sale on my website that I actually DIY and handcraft, but I will put candles up from time to time and I will put books up from time to time. And I never lower the prices because at some point I will get exactly what I feel like they're worth, especially when something like this I spend days on. If you're looking to sell online, one of the platforms that people often go to is Etsy. I am not familiar with that platform. I've had people that I know use that platform and stop using the platform due to high costs and fees. Anyone watching this, if you're familiar with Etsy, please pop some information down below because we're all here trying to help one another grow, whether you're creating your own business at home or you're possibly thinking about it and just want to get some basic information. If you're thinking about selling on Whatnot, one thing I would not do is go out and buy a whole surplus and get wild of all these things and think you're going to come in there, you're going to sell, and it's going to be the easiest thing ever. And yes, I came into Whatnot with a little bit of a platform and a support system, but it still took me 8 months roughly to get to 1,000 sales. Did not happen overnight. And that's me going live 2 and 3 times a week. In addition to everything else I had going on. So ask yourself, how much time do you have to dedicate to sourcing products, to reselling the products, to packing the products, to making sure you have all the supplies for the things that you need, and then to go live. When you got that figured out, then whatnot it up. Another go-to that has worked well for me personally is the groups on Facebook. Don't just list your items on the marketplace. You can actually connect with groups that allow selling, whether it's thrift groups, or my local area has so many of them. So I just sign up. Then when I go on the marketplace, I'll post something for sale, and then I'll join the groups and pop them on there because they allow selling. And for those of you thinking, let me go get a booth, let me go get a spot at an antique mall or a vintage whatever, or I was a vendor at a local art market for a year and a half. Initially, I got a large space and it was $75 a month. And I was not even coming close to making that money back. So what happened is it just ended up becoming a spot of storage for me. I would take stuff there and sell a couple of things a month. And my larger pieces, like when I had the larger furniture pieces, those would sell. I was happy to get rid of those because the bigger spaces, once my living situation changed, I didn't have room for that anymore. So I was happy to have somewhere for those to go. But realistically, I spent a lot of money at that first year not getting a return on it. Then the following year, I moved to a smaller space, and that was $50 a month. Unfortunately, there wasn't enough traffic in the place at all, and it ended up closing down. Luckily for me, I had taken my space out a couple months before they announced that. If you're just starting out wanting to sell your handmade items, it might be a good idea to try to get in little craft shows. This way you could test out, especially if you don't want to do platforms, okay? Y'all, YouTube, Facebook, if you don't want to create a social presence where you're creating content to push out your handmade, then I would recommend seeing if you could get into little craft shows to get yourself a table and set them up. This way you can see what people are interested in with what you make homemade. Does that make sense? So if you go to these shows and you put your heart out on this table, right? All the beautiful, amazing things you've been working your butt off to create, then you get to see what people are going to pick. If none of your items sell there, I would then recommend moving to another space and giving that a try. And I say that because your local market and what people are interested in one space might not be interested in another space. Not everyone's going to appreciate what you're doing over here, and they might appreciate what you're doing over here. And it might take you a second to see if you can find a target audience with your handmade craft items. So if you're selling over here in this area of your town and no one's purchasing, you might want to try driving 30 minutes over to this craft show whenever they do that and see if you can find an audience over here. This way you can narrow down what people are interested in purchasing. And once you can figure that out, you can then maximize your ability to create those items, to create more pieces for people to be able to purchase of things that they like that you make. And people, listen, there's going to be some that come along and they tell you, oh, I never had any problems selling this and I never had any problems selling that. And all you got to do is this, this, and this, and this will work for you. Then you go right ahead and that works for you. And I'm super happy that that works for you. Bless you. Okay. Share that information. Let somebody else try it. But that isn't always the case for everyone. And I try to give different options and just be realistic here, because creating socials to sell products is not always for everyone. I hated being on camera. If I was not doing lives on Whatnot the last almost year, I probably wouldn't have started this Let Me Explain series, because I never liked filming myself. Ever. Creating content is not for everyone, and not everyone feels like that's how they should have to go about it to be able to sell their handmade projects. So hopefully the information I gave to you can help you sell a little bit more. Might not be for everyone. It might not be the best way for everyone, and it's probably not answering all the questions that you have, but I will do my best to continue to respond to them and help you along your journey as I continue with these videos. Which leads us into our next question. How long have I been a YouTuber? Another common question I get is, do you need to be a YouTuber to be able to sell your projects? Another common question is, how long does it take to be a YouTuber? Do I need to get into content? Content is not for everyone. I recommend that you figure out what you're comfortable doing. If you think you want to be a YouTuber, take some time and practice filming yourself. Whether you're doing it like this or you're just filming your hands, which is pretty typical of the DIY world, handmade craft projects. I think the more attention that you get, the more possibility you have to sell your pieces. But it's also about your comfort level, also about what you want to do, and if you can stay consistent enough. I have been beating this drum for 7 years, and it can be exhausting. And there are days and weeks I go without selling anything at all, even with the amount of backing I have from all the amazing people on the socials that I got. It is a very realistic question to ask when you're trying to create a business. And I personally feel having socials helps grow you. Whether you're using just a website, whether you're using marketing and ads, whether you're using Facebook and Facebook Marketplace, whether you're personally taking yourself and going to local markets, local thrift spots, whether you're going to antique shops, any sort of way that you are able to market yourself in the things that you're doing, that will help propel you forward. And it's no one size fits all should you be a YouTuber. Y'all hold my Dollar Tree up on a pedestal, and you got to stop doing that. Come here. Let me show you something. These images are not always taken from the same Dollar Tree. These images are taken whenever I go into stores randomly. Sometimes I'm not even filming. I just go in there. I'm like, I'm going to get me some B-roll. That's what it's called in the background. B-roll. At least that's what I call it. I don't know what everybody else is doing. Some of the footage you see me use over time is like a year old. Okay, me walking into a store, I just got it in my phone. I'm like, this looks good here. I'm a content creator. So it is my job to have extra footage in my phone at any given time when I'm creating a video. Now, I know that there are times where I'm making stuff and you guys are like, I haven't seen that and I haven't seen that. And that's just because I happen to be walking into one and they got an item and I'm like, oh, and then there's times where people are like, oh, I seen that 3 years ago. That's been here, but it's new to me. It's new to me. So when you're asking questions about my Dollar Tree and all of the things, know that the Dollar Tree is not always just one Dollar Tree. Okay, that particular Dollar Tree, the one I filmed the most, that one's about 25 minutes for me. I have to drive to it. I got clips and pieces from multiple different Dollar Trees that are around me. I got several. And they're not always the best stocked, the most organized. So you're not alone. Stop feeling like you need to figure out where my Dollar Tree is. But if you're interested, it is in York, Pennsylvania. So those of you that have been wanting to know where my Dollar Tree is, York, PA. I make a lot of palette projects, y'all, and I'm often asked if people can change pieces out. Let me explain something to you. And I could be wrong, but I think I speak for a lot of crafters or DIY channels when I say most of the things that we create are for inspiration. So if you're struggling to figure out how to get a hold of certain things that we're making, do you. Everyone's availability, whether it's a thrift item, a Dollar Tree item, the wood items that you have available at your local hardware store, they're all going to be different. So when I create something and I'm using the Dollar Tree wood palettes, you can absolutely use a cutting board as a base. If your Dollar Tree, you walk into a Dollar Tree and they got a bunch of them cutting boards, absolutely grab them suckers up and recreate the DIY that you see me make. Please don't limit yourself and feel like you can't do that because you don't have access to it. Over the years on my socials, I hear more people complain about how their store don't have this, they don't have access to that, they can't make this. Why? Why can't you? I walk into stores all the time and get inspired by something and I'm like, I think I can recreate that this way. It doesn't have to be this particular exact way. Now, sometimes you might want to make it exactly like that. But if you don't have access to those items, don't discourage yourself and don't limit yourself to feeling like you can't because you don't have the exact items. Take the ideas, remix them like I say all the time, and create what works best for you and your decor in your home. Hi, my name is Brandy. I am the owner and artist behind the DIYstruggle.com, also known as TDS Creative, which is my creative product line that I made where I have dry rub on transfers, decoupage tissue paper, rice paper, digital downloads. There are a multitude of things that you can purchase that I create, manufacture, and own the copyrights to and pop out into the world for you to have extra creative solutions in your craft stash. Whew, people, that was rough. I am not, I'm not built to advertise. Sorry. That was rough. All right, y'all, being real here. I do own TDS Creative. It is my product line. Okay. I create content the way I like watching it, and I'm not big on going into anyone's video and having them just try to sell and sell and sell. So oftentimes I get questions asking where people can get the transfers they see me use, the rice paper, the tissue paper, the stencils, the brushes. And often I will just have a little thing pop up at the screen. Okay. And it lets you know that you can hop on over to the DIYstruggle.com. The links are usually down underneath my videos. And I know I am told often that I need to push this out more and I need to let people know more. I do my best with what I feel helps me be able to still watch my videos. I don't want to be doing it so little that I have so many questions each week asking where people can get products. So I am finding a balance in that. So anybody that continues to ask those DIY questions about those products, that's where you can find any TDS Creative products you see me using in the videos. People, y'all be driving me wild over the whole dishwasher safe Mod Podge situation. How do I not have it tacky? How am the directions even says on the bottle, allow 28 days for this to cure. So I guess the question is, are you allowing it to cure? And if so, are you also doing thin layers and applying additional coats? When I do mine, I will usually do 3 thin layers and I wait 2 to 3 hours in between coats, and I never have a problem with any of mine. I made this several years ago. Okay, I got coasters, y'all. I got coasters on coasters on coasters sitting here, but we're going to use this one for right now, okay? See how shiny it is? All right. There's no tackiness to be had. I have washed this thing with soap and water multiple times. I use it, okay? This has been layered with the dishwasher safe Mod Podge. I feel like a lot of people struggle with problems with these products because they're not allowing things to cure. From decoupaging bumpy surfaces to decoupaging lampshades, there is no limit to the things I don't get asked in my comments if you can decoupage them. If there is a way to prep the surface, there is a way to decoupage the surface. Lampshades, that's going to depend. Lampshades are made of all different materials. You got fabric ones, you got little plastic joints, but realistically, it depends on the prep, and it also depends on the product that you're using for your mediums along with your application technique. The only thing I can do to help narrow this realistically down is to start a whole decoupage series where in each video we're decoupaging something new every single time. I probably should edit that out. But realistically, I don't think that there's anything I'm scared of decoupaging or that I wouldn't give a go at it. This is such a great question, y'all, because a lot of people cannot afford to purchase chalk paints consistently, even though these smaller little ones are fairly inexpensive. Not all chalk paint is inexpensive and can be purchased in small quantities, while acrylic paints are very budget friendly and you can purchase a bunch of them in place of the chalk paint. So yes, you can absolutely use your chalk paint for a base layer. Now that doesn't matter if you're using it on ceramic, that doesn't matter if you're using it on glass, and that doesn't matter if you're using it on wood. It's not my preferred thing as a base for glass, but that's another question and another topic. But you can absolutely use it for your main layer to get a coat on the surface and then apply your acrylic paint. I even recommend, if you take a little bit of that chalk paint, just pop a little bit off to the side, especially if it's like a white or like an ivory color, and then you can mix it in with the acrylic paint as well. This way you get a better hold. Keep in mind, if you're using acrylic over top of a chalk paint, that it is going to take multiple coats. So you might end up regretting some of that decision if you're having to use half of your acrylic paint bottle just to get full coverage on a piece. So keep that in mind as well. Sometimes money isn't the only issue. It comes into time, how much product you're using, and at the end of the day, are you really saving versus if you would use the chalk paint and not have to apply so many layers. Waxes, y'all, waxes are not a one-all thing here. There are different types of waxes. The waxes depend on the brands and all of the things. So I have been asked this question multiple times, whether I'm using it as, say we're using the Waverly wax, okay? This takes 3 to 4 hours to dry, usually, all right? I like to seal over it, all right? But then if we're talking about, let's say Dixie Belle gilding wax, all right? This stuff I feel dries in like an hour and you don't have to seal over this. Then you can buy certain waxes. I have Dixie Belle's spray wax around here somewhere. You can buy Dixie Belle spray wax, or you can get spray waxes. You can spray on things and that is your sealer. So this question right here, the wax one, it depends on the type of wax, it depends on the project, and it depends on what you're going for with your end look. Just read the directions or be a little bit more specific when you're asking me questions so I can narrow them down and respond better. That's going to be it for today, people. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed this video and got some information to help you on your DIY journey. Until next time.